The 8 a.m. hour of Fox and Friends Weekend, starting with this. Today marks...
He starred in some of the biggest Hollywood comedies.
On my hands,
yeah.
I think.
Pro tip: get some wipes, some diaper wipes for the.
And you wanted to make the kids write reports after collecting nature
How do you
things.
think he became a journalist?
Oh yeah,
Professor.
No, you don't want them to just pick up garbage and leaves and stuff. You want them to know what the leaves are. You want them to know what tree they came from.
Were you surprised when you got out to the table and it wasn't a DEI table?
Yeah, I was actually. I apparently misread the teleprompter.
Unbelievable.
It was supposed to be DIY.
DIY.
But I thought the DEI table sounded more fun.
All right, we're going to have to
It was kind of a DEI table of sorts.
We're going to have to seek some insight from our colleague, Fox News Sunday anchor and chief legal correspondent, Shannon Bream. Shannon, as a child, did you have parents like Charlie Hurt that made you do tests
Yes, she did.
in the summer?
Oh, yes.
Totally
the first
did.
time that I came to D.C., it was the summer between 7th and 8th grade. My cousins, my brothers, we all came here in an RV. It was very Clark Griswold, if you guys get that reference. There were a lot of disasters along the way, but every day my dad would pair us up, send us to different museums. At night, we would have to write about what we did that day around the campfire, and then he made us present it to our teachers when we returned to school in the fall, telling us we were going to get extra credit.
Shannon, do not back him up.
This is why you're such a success.
Exactly. This is why she's got her own show, Fox News Sunday. This is how it all started. My mother worked across the street. My mother worked at a bowling alley. She was like the lady in the office in the bowling alley. And there was a library across the street, and we were required to go to the library, and we had to show her how many books we read.
Oh, yes. Now, I'm really going to make myself look like a nerd here, but my school in 2nd grade had a reading contest, and I, who can't do anything halfway, decided I was going to read every book I could find in the library, 1,100 books by the end of that. And the little local newspaper put me on the front of the newspaper, and my mom was so upset because they showed up to the school to take my picture to put it on the newspaper, and she didn't know. So I have, my hair going everywhere, and I don't have a cute outfit. I was missing my front teeth. It is not a cute picture, but my mom was like,
picture. Can you bring that next time?
I
We'd
will
love to
find
see
it
that.
for you.
We need that picture, and that is impressive. I will give you that.
I was a nerd. I still am, as you guys know.
I'm
None
not
of
sure
this
if it's
surprises
quite
us.
as impressive as President Trump's major wins in his second term. It's really been quite unbelievable. We can show you limited the ability of lower courts to block
Education with the Department of Education.
That's right. That's right. I left that out.
Exactly. None of us have passed any legislation, brokered any peace deals, won any major court battles, any of that stuff. We get to cover it. But, yeah, the president is on a roll here. And
Shannon, to me, forget this fight for a second. I didn't realize how much money the federal government was giving these elite institutions that are sitting on massive amounts of endowments that are bigger than many countries' GDPs. So I don't understand why they didn't just start with that. We had all this Doge stuff. Stop giving money to these elite institutions who we can't control what they do. I mean, we're talking about the Jewish situation, okay, but they've been discriminating against conservative college students forever.
yeah, and what Harvard and these other universities will say is we are handling those problems. There is to, fund these efforts.
Yeah, institutions that have 90%, 95, sometimes 99% liberal professors who vote for Democrats, and then we wonder why there's no balance. But
Hey, Shannon, we got to ask you about this. You're in Washington, and everybody knows Washington's favorite pastime is presidential parlor games. Now, we've got one poll looking at the 2028 presidential election winner, and
Everybody jumps on the most obvious explanation for that, which is that everybody is addicted to their screens, which is no doubt a real problem. There's also another problem, which is that parents are afraid of letting their kids get hurt. And unfortunately, one of the things you learn about life, and you have to learn as a kid, is that you get hurt. You ride your bike, you fall down, and this whole sort of idea that parents are supposed to keep your kids from ever getting hurt and facing consequences for stupid decisions, like making an Evel Knievel ramp that's too high, trying to jump a creek, and you break a bone or whatever.
Would have never found that pirate ship. The entire movie was kids on bikes. And when we saw that movie, that was like, oh yeah, that's like every American neighborhood. We all had bikes. We all ran around. I remember me and my sister would ride our bikes, and we would pretend like we were Charlie's Angels.
I was living on a Diamondback BMX bike when we were getting hurt all the time, breaking bones.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just the having that thing to do. It was that, you know, I had a core group of like 5, 6 best friends. We rode every day, particularly in the summer.
Social.
But then we were able to socialize. We were able to communicate. We were learning, you know, about each other. And there was real development there, even though we didn't realize at the time that that's what was happening. And all that's lost with staying home and being on your screen.
Yeah.
And
also, there's the rise of these electric bikes. So a lot of kids are maybe even if they get on the bike, they're not getting the same kind of exercise.
And we also should do a study on how many kids who turn 16 don't get their driver's license.
Oh, I'm shocked by that every single day.
It's amazing.
It's amazing to me.
Come on,
all
National
of my
Sporting
kids
Goods
have their
Association.
license the second they can get it, but I've been shocked by how many still like to be shuttled around at 18, 19 even by their mommies.
Yeah.
All right, turning now to your headlines. A man in Ohio has dream at home. So easy. It's the easiest thing to do. Even if you get the premium brands at the in the freezer aisle.
So much better.
So many ingredients that don't belong in there.
And it's so much better than the
it tastes
expensive.
better, and you can we're talking about fun things to do with your kids. That's one of them.
And it's healthier.
Of course. Speaking of
and
healthy,
it's another grandma hobby.
Yeah.
That's right.
Speaking of dessert, we're marking 6 months of Maha, the white.
well, the Make America Healthy Again movement is making major progress, revamping the food industry in the first 6 months since the Trump administration entered office. And they have made major advancements. Some of their major moves include taking steps to phase out certain synthetic food dyes. A growing body of research suggests that artificial food dyes may be linked to hyperactivity, irritability, and other potential health issues in kids. At least 8 dyes are expected to be removed from the U.S. food supply by the end of 2026. The administration also investigating the impact of ultra-processed foods and the potential harm they have on children's health, especially if the fact that they contribute to obesity, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. And earlier this year, Operation Stork Speed was launched to enhance infant formula, their milk, while making it more reliable. They're also, by the way, pushing for more women to breastfeed, which is an even healthier option. It's a joint effort between the HHS and the FDA. Already, a number of states have been embracing MAHA-related policies. Look at this. There's a number of brands that are making major MAHA-inspired product changes. So here to discuss all of these changes is FDA Commissioner Marty McCary.
I do have to sort of think it's kind of funny that they say this is a financial decision. Yeah, it's a financial decision because your show was terrible and nobody was watching it and you were losing money.
Well, there should be no fuzz on this at all, Griff. The Russians got Colbert fired, and I think I'm willing to testify if I get complete immunity from the Trump administration and from CBS. I'm willing to testify. No, but I just found out this morning also, if you go on social media, that a district court judge has prevented CBS from firing Stephen Colbert, which I don't think is fair either.
You know what's interesting is these Democrat politicians like Elizabeth Warren and a few others have come out and made statements in defense of Stephen Colbert saying, hey, you fired him for political reasons. I know that you're an outspoken conservative. I imagine there are some jobs maybe that you were passed over for because of your views?
I just want to say, if Elizabeth Warren wants to pick up the tab for what CBS has been losing, just take away from her private jets, and she could put it towards Stephen Colbert's salary. I mean, yes, I mean, it's a lot tougher for, I love it when
He didn't insult the viewers. People that worked all day long came home and wanted to laugh, not get lectured on politics. Lastly, Rob, let me just ask you, what do you make of our own Greg Gutfeld has really come in and upended it, even beating people like Colbert and changed the game?
Well, I would tell you what it is was you have somebody like Greg who's genuinely funny, and he has funny people on, and he tells jokes. And yeah, he definitely skews right. I think he might be a conservative. I'm not 100% sure. You never know with Greg.
Yeah.
But he's great. He's the #1 guy for a reason. And I don't think he's belittling anything but a party that has allowed itself to position themselves to be belittled, to deserve that kind of ridicule. And that's all we could do as comedians. We could set something up and say, is this ridiculous or not? And unfortunately, the powers that be in the liberal media have allowed themselves to be ridiculed, and now they've allowed themselves to spend themselves into the ground to where CBS is no longer afraid from the woke empire, which is collapsing, to say, hey, we're going to fire this guy, we're going to save some money, we don't care the reaction of whatever Jimmy Kimmel says.
I love that. The woke empire is collapsing, and it's allowing people like you who are genuinely funny to rise to the top. And we love having you on, Rob, and we hope that you come back, and we'll get you a room next time that we have an interview with you.
We're calling Elizabeth Warren right now to get you back in that building.
Steve Colbert, I think he's going to land on his feet. I feel terrible. He only has $100 million to do it, but I'm sure that that's a way. If you think ahead, if you plan ahead with that $100 million, I think you're gonna land on your feet, Steve.
Yeah. Come in studio next time, Rob.
All right, will do. I'm going to get kicked out of the building any minute now.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Rob.
Bye now.
He's also a very outspoken Catholic as well online, so he's an interesting fellow. Country music star, we are looking for a man in finance. I love that video. And they're stealing their lunches to secure a date. We're going to explain all of that on Pop Culture Roundup. The final hour of Fox and Friends Weekend starts right now.
Hour. Thank you for joining us or sticking with us, and it's so great to be here with the two of you.
It's great to be here too. You know, I didn't even know we were going to start this hour of the show, and I was going to go up back and talk to hair and makeup, and then he was like, we have to sit on the couch. We have a show, which is...
It's your time blindness.
It's the time blindness thing.
Time blindness.
Can you explain this really quickly? You just had this segment with Dr. Nicole Sapphire.
Yeah, well, I think that it affects some people more than it does other people, but it's the inability to keep track of time.
Is this just BS?
No, I think it's real. No, I do think it's real. Yeah, I think it's real. There are some people who simply can't do it, and I think it's linked to ADHD, which is, if there's another H in there, I have that, and so it definitely affects me. But that's why she said that I was right to keep a paper calendar, which I do.
I do too.
Yeah. That's the only way. And
I thought this was a Hispanic thing. We're just kind of late for stuff. But apparently, I have ADHD.
So does time blindness account for why, before we started the hour, you were writing with her lipstick?
Yes.
Well, she did.
He grabbed my lip pencil, and he goes, this is not a highlighter.
Is time blindness to blame for this?
Well, it's because you steal all of my highlighters, you steal all of my pens, and then
he came down with 6 highlighters this morning.
And then you leave your lipstick on the table.
And then you stole my lipstick. My lip liner.
I didn't actually. Well, I smudged it slightly, but I think we got it.
Oh, well, somebody who's not smudging or fudging is Donald Trump, because today marks 6 months of...
Is because the base of Republicans and Trump supporters and Trump himself care a lot about girls being abused.
Yes.
Nobody has done more to save girls from being abused than Donald Trump. Under his predecessor, Joe Biden, nobody did more to expand abuse of girls, and particularly sexual slave abuse of little girls, than Joe Biden. And Donald Trump came in and put an end to all of that.
Absolutely.
And that matters more than anything
Those are
else.
rescues, what you're seeing, like what happened at that farm. Those are rescues. They are not detentions and whatever else they're calling it. They are rescuing children, and those aren't the only ones. They have found 10,000 children that the Joe Biden's administration lost in their HHS open border policy, where they let anybody take any child who came across our border.
Riley murder, Jocelyn Nungare, those were all migrants. They were released into the country, and in some cases tied to Tren de Aragua. President Trump has shut that threat down, now going in the interior to remove violent criminal aliens that could pose a threat, like the migrants, the criminal illegal aliens, I should say, that killed Laken Riley and Jocelyn Nungare, in a list of people that should never have died or been raped, because those aliens should have never been here. And by the way, I just want to mention, too, when we look at all those accomplishments and wins, also included is the fact that on the global stage, the world is safer today because of the strike on the Iranian nuclear facilities, particularly Fordo in Iran. And President Trump is willing to do that. And then you look at NATO. He's got NATO turning around and bringing them to beef up their alliance and expenditures on GDP defense. So really, it's fascinating when you look at the border. Obviously stands out for me, Rachel and Charlie, because when Bill Maloof and I were covering that crisis and chaos for 4 years, we never thought imaginable that you would get to a point where on one single day you only had 136 people try and cross the border. When we're watching on live television, 6, 7, 8,000. I watched that CSI show. You can't do an autopsy if you don't have a body. You're not able to find what the thing. And when they talk about an after-action review, which is what they're actually saying the DNC wants to do, if they don't look at Biden in his mental acuity, they don't look at his withdrawal, they don't look at Harris as a flawed candidate and her messaging, then all you're left with, according to the New York Times article, is the decisions made by the PAC that spent the most money. And I don't see how, if your agenda or excuse me, intention is to figure out what happened, why it happened, and what not to do next, they're not looking at where all the problems were.
Yeah. The problem was they installed Kamala Harris and they didn't ask the voters whether that was a good idea or not. Meanwhile, speaking of the Democrats, the Obamas have moved on from politics, kind of, not really. But Michelle Obama has a podcast, and this time, instead of insulting Barack Obama, as she does so often on the podcast, she decided to invite him on, and they talked about fatherhood. Listen.
This is what the Democrat Party is never going to recognize. If you want to look at what the problem with your party is, that's the problem with your party. You have Barack Obama talking about how glad he is he didn't have any sons because he wouldn't want to be the father of a boy, which is just, that by itself is just the strangest, most bizarre thing ever. But what they're talking about there is the loss of purpose that men feel when politicians like Barack Obama ship their jobs overseas to China. And the answer that they give in this podcast is, oh, well.
This is good. Guess what? No, there is no substitute in academia or in government for a father. The role of a father is critical in raising a man, a boy to a man.
Yeah, and it's worth noting, remember during the campaign, Obama insulted young black men in lecturing them about being afraid to vote for a black woman. And now what do you have? The DNC spending $20 million, to your point, alienate them, I would argue, insult them.
But more importantly, that POV, that worldview that Barack Obama has, is bad for our culture. It's bad for society, and it's bad for men. And ultimately, when you have men who are not raised by good men and have that sort of leadership role modeling, it's bad for women.
Right.
Women want to marry men who have become men and know who they are and have a good sense of values and have a good relationship with their father.
It's a great point. All right, turning now to your headlines. Seems maybe that would be in the cards.
So he certainly qualifies for the year's worst dad, at the very least.
And husband.
But also, worst dad.
Yeah, no question. All right.
Okay, forget I Heart New York, for governor of Ohio, and he joins us now. So great to see you. So, there is something to be said about the way Zohran Mamdani has actually talked about important issues. And they're issues that you have always been very vocal about talking about, particularly to young people. How do Republicans salvage these young voters?
Look, I think it's a great question. And the fact of the matter is, in the Biden year state,
I couldn't agree more. I do think we need to make a better case for capitalism. I think also, Vivek, you and I both probably agree that our schools have been indoctrinating our kids, especially here in New York City. You can imagine what kind of messages they're getting about socialism versus capitalism. But to your point, capitalism that is not sort of grounded or parallel with morality doesn't work. You just get greed. And I think that young people are really smart, and they're seeing that they're seeing these things fall apart. And one of the things I liked about your message when you were running for president, and I'm sure you're giving this message as you're running for governor, is you talked a lot about religion, morality, the role of the family in sort of creating a society that's ethical enough to handle something as wonderful and free as capitalism.
And these are the conversations we ought to be having, because I often say this, Rachel, is virtue is a precondition for capitalism to work. Yeah.
Yes.
If our wants match our needs, then capitalism is the best system that you could imagine. But when your wants diverge from your needs, think about the modern internet, think about modern marketing online, that's what drives at those wedges. And so these are the more nuanced conversations that zero income tax includes zero capital gains tax. At the same time, we're going to reform not just school choice, which I believe in, but also actually improve the quality of the public schools by bringing some level of performance management, making sure the best teachers are able to be compensated more than the starting salary of $40,000 a year in public schools. And I think those are the kinds of solutions that I hope makes Ohio not just one of the best states in the Midwest, but the top state in the country to raise a young family, to be able to give our kids that world-class education that I believe is the birthright of every American. That's the kind of positive vision that I hope helps lift up Ohio, but I hope also serves as a model for the rest of the country, not just Texas or Florida. And so I do hope that those who share those values at least come on over to Ohio, and when I'm in charge, hopefully in a couple of years, we're going to be able to lead our state back to
You're going to be competing with the sunshine in Florida, but let's see how many takers we have in Times Square. I actually see a lot of people from Ohio in Times Square. They're visiting, but they're probably happy to return back to Ohio.
Well, nobody brings that message better than you, and so
That's
we
true.
are
Thank you,
grateful
Vivek.
to you for that and for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Vivek.
Thank you, guys.
You got it.
Thank you.
From single ladies stealing men. All right, well, it's time for another edition of my Pop Culture Roundup, and this week's news contributor, Tom Shalhoub, is joining me. Thank you, Tom. So happy to have you.
Thanks.
Let's get right into it. Now, the American dating scene has become so desperate, especially here in New York City, that single women are resorting to drastic measures. Women are allegedly going into like a place like Sweet Greens, a salad place, and they're stealing men's lunches. Get this, so that they can find a way to approach them. So then they go to the guy and go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got your lunch by mistake. Let's just meet up and I'll get you a new one."
I think this is good. It's a good sign.
What, you like this?
Yes, because the guys aren't stepping up. So this woman has to engage in guerrilla tactics, and she's telling all her girlfriends about it. This is just a modern version of the old-fashioned dropping of the handkerchief. But now you drop a handkerchief, the guy's not even going to pick it up, so you got to steal his lunch.
Feminism told them not to.
Yes.
All right. So, but the bad part, of course, is that the women now have to buy the salad for the guy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, they get themselves a salad. The guy probably didn't want the salad anyway. I mean, in my day, if I ordered lunch and it came instead a woman's phone number, bonus.
Bonus. I love how positive you are about this. Oh, I love it. Okay, here's another happy story. Happy Gilmore 2-star Adam Sandler shares a crucial rule with his daughters who are navigating Hollywood. So they're coming into Hollywood. Here's what he says.
Be nice to everybody.
Be nice to everybody.
In the crew.
Like, don't just be nice to the fancy people.
The crew is all you got.
They
work
got your back and they are working much harder than we are. Yeah.
Anybody who's making too much cash, you can give them a snap. Everyone else be nice.
Great advice.
I don't know.
Be nice to everybody?
No. I have 2 daughters. First of all, don't go to Hollywood. And if you do go to Hollywood, don't be nice to everybody. Like maybe Harvey Weinstein. No.
Don't be nice.
No, especially for girls. I mean, maybe if you have a son who's like in his 30s, oh, be nice to everybody. But teenage girls, no. Be nice to some people.
That's why you're a good dad. All right. I did not expect it to go in this direction, but I love it. Crew, I'm sorry Charlie's not so nice to you these days. All right. The rigorous diet and exercise regime behind Melania Trump's enviable physique. So here's what she's saying. She's divulged the secret to her beauty and her fitness. She eats 7 pieces of fruit daily. She starts with fruit and vegetable smoothie every morning. So it's a fruit, vegetable, and fish diet. She exercises regularly with tennis and Pilates. She also walks around with ankle weights, and apparently she does not do Botox.
Wow. I think my diet is similar to Melania's, although I don't have 7 pieces of fruit, but I like a lot of fish, maybe a couple of pieces of fruit, black coffee. The exercise regimen, I wouldn't wear ankle weights. I like the exercise bands, though.
Yeah.
You know, you put the bands around your knees and you're like.
Yep, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it, but I've seen it. All right, Melania, it's working. Good. Keep doing it. She looks fabulous, the prettiest first lady we've ever had. All right, so media outlets are freaking out over the social media trend that's called the princess treatment. Here are some TikToks that explain this trend.
Let's talk about princess treatment. If I am at a restaurant with my husband, it's not because you're being hoity-toity. You're just letting your husband lead and letting him take care of it.
So this is sort of an extension of the trad wife thing. So like women are not, according to this trend, you should just let your husband, you know, make the reservation, order at the restaurant, just sort of hang back and let him be a man.
Well, you know, I like some of this, but some of it seems a little extreme. You know, I mean, let your husband lead, that sounds okay, but you know, ordering for you at the restaurant, my wife knows what she wants to order. In fact, if I ordered for her, she'd be like, no, she'd have to correct me all the time.
Yeah.
And this, you know, some of these ladies are talking about they let their husbands tie their shoes. It seems a little extreme.
It's a little extreme. Sean does not let me drive when we're together.
No, I like to drive.
That's because I'm a crappy driver.
Yeah, I've had my wife pick me up. She'll drive up in the car, and then she'll get out, and
I'll get out. I do the same thing. I don't know if it's about chivalry or he knows we're going to fight about my driving because it's so bad.
Wow.
All right. Well, Tom, you gave great advice from beginning to end. I love it. All right. Still ahead, the AI debate. Will it